Welcome to Religion Unpacked. The mystery of the Magi, kings, astrologers, or magicians. Introduction: the iconic image versus the biblical silence. It is one of the most beloved scenes of the Christmas story. Three wise men, often depicted as kings, riding camels across the desert. They bring precious gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They follow a star, kneel before the infant Jesus, and then disappear from history. For children around the world, they are a source of wonder. For millions in Latin America, they are the magical bringers of gifts on January 6th, Dia de Reyes. But have you ever stopped to wonder who these Magi actually were? The Bible calls them simply Magi from the East. It doesn't give their names. It doesn't say there were three of them. It doesn't call them kings. It doesn't even say they rode camels. So how did this iconic image of three kings, with their specific names and gifts, become such a central part of the Nativity story? Who were these mysterious figures who appear, offer gifts, and then vanish? Were they kings, astrologers, magicians, or something else entirely? Let's unpack the enduring mystery of the Magi. Part 1. The sparse biblical account, Matthew 2:1-12. Our primary source for the Magi is the Gospel of Matthew, and it is surprisingly brief. Matthew 2:1 simply states, "Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem. They ask, 'Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him.' Herod is troubled and calls together the chief priests and scribes, who tell him the Messiah is to be born in Bethlehem. Herod secretly calls the Magi, ascertains the time the star appeared, and sends them to Bethlehem, asking them to return with information so he too can worship the child, though he intends to kill him. The star leads them to a house, not a stable, suggesting some time has passed since Jesus' birth. They find the child with Mary, his mother. They offer their gifts, and, being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. That's it. No names, no number, no royal titles, just Magi from the East. So, where did everything else come from? Part 2. The meaning of Magi, astrologers, priests, scholars. The term Magi, magoi in Greek, did not originally mean wise men or kings. It referred to an ancient class of priests and scholars in ancient Persia, modern-day Iran, and Media. They were experts in astronomy, astrology, and the interpretation of dreams and omens. They were also associated with various forms of magic, sometimes for good, sometimes for ill. In the ancient world, astronomy and astrology were deeply intertwined. These Magi were not just stargazers. They believed the movements of celestial bodies revealed divine will and predicted earthly events, especially the birth of kings. Given their origin from the East, it is highly probable they came from the Parthian Empire, a rival to Rome, which at that time encompassed parts of Persia. So, the biblical Magi were likely not kings, but rather powerful, learned men, probably astrologer priests, who held significant political and religious influence in their own land. Part 3. The star, a celestial phenomenon or a miracle? What about the star? This is one of the most debated aspects of the story. Was it a literal astronomical event? A comet. Some scholars suggest it could have been a comet. A supernova, the sudden appearance of a new bright star. A planetary conjunction, the rare alignment of bright planets, e.g. Jupiter and Saturn, which occurred around 76 BC, believed by some to be the birth year of Jesus. Such a conjunction would have been highly significant to astrologers. Or was it a purely miraculous, supernatural phenomenon that defied natural explanation, guiding them directly? The Gospel of Matthew presents it as a guiding light, leading them specifically to the house where Jesus was. This suggests it was more than just a visible star. It was a divine sign. For the Magi, trained in celestial observation, a unique star signaling the birth of a king of the Jews would have been an urgent call to action. Part 4. The gifts, symbolism and prophecy. The three gifts are highly symbolic. Gold, a gift fit for a king, acknowledging Jesus' royal status. Frankincense, an aromatic resin used in temple worship, acknowledging Jesus' divinity and priestly role. Myrrh, a bitter resin used for embalming the dead, foreshadowing Jesus' suffering and death. These gifts are not random, they are deeply theological, pointing to Jesus' triple role as king, God, and suffering servant. The mention of 3 types of gifts is likely what led to the tradition of there being 3 magi. If there were 3 gifts, it was assumed there were 3 givers. Part 5. The evolution of the legend, from Magi to kings. So, how did Magi from the East become 3 named kings? The number 3. As mentioned, 3 gifts naturally led to 3 givers. Royal status. The Old Testament prophecy in Isaiah 66 states, "All those from Sheba shall come, they shall bring gold and frankincense, and proclaim the praise of the Lord." And Psalm 72:11 says, "May all kings fall down before him." These prophecies were later interpreted as referring to the Magi, elevating them to kings. Names. The names Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar appear much later, around the 6th century, in a Greek manuscript. These names were then popularized in the West. Caspar, often depicted as an older man, bringing frankincense. Melchior, a middle-aged man bringing gold. Balthazar, often depicted as a younger, darker-skinned man, bringing myrrh. This depiction added a dimension of universality, suggesting the Magi represented all 3 continents known at the time: Europe, Asia, Africa. Camels and costumes. These details were added over centuries by artists, playwrights, and storytellers to make the narrative more vivid and memorable. The entire transformation from vague Magi to specific 3 kings is a powerful example of cultural syncretism and storytelling elaboration, where early Christian communities filled in the gaps of a sparse biblical text with rich, symbolic details that resonated with their understanding of the world. Conclusion: a universal message. The journey of the Magi is more than just a footnote in the Christmas story. It is a powerful symbol of the universal search for truth and meaning. These were outsiders, non-Jews, who, through their wisdom and observation, recognized the birth of a new spiritual king. They represent the idea that God's message is not confined to one people, but is revealed to all who seek it. And whether they were kings or astrologers, their story continues to inspire. Their willingness to follow a star, to travel great distances, and to offer their most precious gifts in worship remains a profound lesson. They remind us that sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from places we least expect. And that is the mystery of the Magi, unpacked. Welcome to Religion Unpacked. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a new upload.